Box Canyon Springs is a hidden oasis tucked away in a desert landscape. This beautiful canyon is one of the units of Thousand Springs State Park. It is home to an impressive basalt canyon, stunning waterfalls, and gorgeous natural spring pools with vibrant turquoise colors bathed in Idaho sunshine. Our adventure starts off at a pretty good sized parking lot. If this lot is full, you can park at the lot just off the main road, but it does add 7/10 of a mile each way. When you first start, the place looks pretty unremarkable and barren. That is until you get your first glimpse over the edge of the springs. As soon as we saw that, we knew that this was definitely a hike that we wanted to do. It seems like a lot of people just take a peek from the edge and head back to the car, but if you want to experience the true magic that this canyon has to offer, you need to hike down to the bottom. You are definitely going to want to wear shoes with plenty of traction on this hike. Even though the first 3/10 of a mile is pretty much flat with the exception of a bunch of rocks that you can trip over, it's going to get pretty steep and slippery when it's time to drop down into the canyon. Here's a fun fact. The water here originates from the Snake River Plain Aquifer. The springs here flow at a rate of right around 180,000 gallons per minute. That makes this the 11th largest spring in the entire United States. Since we did bring the right shoes for the job, the climb down wasn't too bad and we were at the bottom in no time. They did install a metal railing that led almost all the way down to the bottom, but luckily we didn't need it. Once you get down almost all the way to the stream, you're going to want to make a left, at least if you want to end up where we do in the video. The trail became really overgrown at this point, but luckily there was just enough to keep us going in the right direction. Eventually we found ourselves at the bottom of this neat little waterfall. It was probably about 20 feet tall and quite a bit wider than it was tall. I guess that this is the best way to understand what 180,000 gallons a minute looks like. After we passed the waterfall, we found this interesting little structure and I'm not exactly sure what it does. So if you know what it is, please let us know in the comments below. One thing you are definitely going to want to keep your eyes peeled for is stinging nettle. I bumped into some near the waterfall and it definitely didn't feel too good. With all of the constant changing of the scenery on this hike, it makes it feel like a much more substantial trail. It's honestly a little bit hard to believe that the out and back hike that we're doing here was only 2.4 miles long. With all of the cars that we saw in the parking lot, I was expecting to see a lot more people on the trail. We didn't see another person for almost the entire hike, and we saw just a couple people hanging around the pool at the end of the trail. The good thing about the pool is that it's so large you can spread out from each other and you can still have that feeling that you have the entire place to yourself. Speaking of the pool, that's where we are right now. The clear and turquoise water here is absolutely surreal. You can easily see down to the bottom throughout the entire pool. We ended up circling around towards the back side of the pool just so we could have our own little private beach. We passed several overflows and this large grate that we just ended up calling the strainer. We had heard that this canyon was a cool place to explore, but we were definitely blown away by just how beautiful it really was. And by the way, the water here is quite cold, but it was a warm day and so it was pretty refreshing. If you swim down towards the end of the pool, please be careful. The current gets stronger and stronger the closer you get to the strainer, and I'm sure it could be pretty dangerous if you get stuck to it. I took this shot by just putting my hand in the water because I didn't want to get too close. From this point, you can either head back the same way that you came like we're doing, or you can continue on and do the loop option. It will add another half of a mile to your hike, but the only problem is it pops you up out of the canyon where the views aren't anywhere near as nice. One thing that I didn't mention in the beginning of the video is that there is a fee to park in the main lot like we did. The good thing is that it's only $7, and that will get you a pass to visit all of the units of the Thousand Springs State Park that day. So if you plan it right, you can definitely get that $7 worth. For some reason, the hike back always seems like it goes a lot faster than the hike out, and before we knew it, we're back to the climb up to the rim of the canyon. Even though the climb up is really steep, it's also very short, so it shouldn't take you too long. Besides all the half-buried rocks that V and I kept tripping over, this is probably the most challenging part of the hike, and it's not that bad. With all of these spectacular views that you get to take in on this hike, this small bit of a challenge is totally worth it. After the climb, we were back up on that flat road, which was great because we needed to catch our breath. Just before we got back to the car, we noticed this interesting little canyon, which looked like it gave you a bit more of an extreme route down to the spring. I'm not 100% sure if it's doable, but it looked like if you had some serious down climbing skills, you might be able to make it. And that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoy our adventures, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because those are the best things you can do to support this channel. Check us out on Instagram at @thatadventurelife_official. And for all the information about this hike and other awesome things to do in Idaho, head on over to thatadventurelife.com.